after making a community post asking everyone which would be more difficult. I received a 90% result on finishing KCD with no armor and clothes while having all debuffs active. And since I love a challenge, I will be beating KCD with no armor and clothes in hardcore mode with all negative traits active. Before this video continues, please consider subscribing. I do medieval-themed content and I would love to get your support. Now, this video will include a skim of events, and so if you lack the patience to watch through every instance of my playthrough, I recommend skipping through the chapters I've set on the timeline. I've labeled them according to what happens. If you're still here, let's get on with the video. Before starting a new game, I would like to establish a really quick set of rules. First, I am not allowed to wear any apparels. That means no clothes, no armor, no accessories, no spurs, and definitely no headgear. Second, we cannot join events that would lead us to wear armor. That means no ratte tournament for this playthrough. And for the last rule, I'm only allowed to wear something if it means progressing the main quest. I don't need to mind this rule too often since this will happen rarely. An example is during the archery sequence with Capon. My goal for this video is to beat Runt during the Pribyslavitz Raid, as he will be a much more difficult opponent in hardcore, as he is said to be wearing a full suit of armor, making him my #1 obstacle for now. With the rules and goal established, we create a new game. A quick backstory for our hero Henry. We are told that we died, and so we choose a number of debuffs for our playthrough, as each debuff merits its own challenges that we need to overcome. However, knowing the title of this video, I will be selecting all these debuffs. Now the story begins with Henry waking up. We remove all our clothes to start the challenge. Now, Henry being Henry, he is hungry as usual. We eat Mom's cooking. Then we proceed to get everything from this chest and then raid your family's pantry, because Henry will be an extra hungry boy because of the tapeworm debuff. Food is now an extremely essential resource that we cannot overlook. Now we continue with our usual routine. Note that in hardcore mode it is more difficult to do exploits, and so we just go with our regular routine, doing all the first set of quests with ease. After doing so, we do our regular tradition of slaughtering every Cuman in front of Theresa's house.
Animals! Hold on the Hoppy chopper!
Mind you, we cannot use the clothes in this sequence, but I like to keep some as I can use it for trade later on. But the biggest prize I'm looking for is the rider's saber, as it can be looted from one of the Cumans harassing Theresa. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it, and so I have to settle with just a regular old saber. Continuing, I would love to slaughter these Cumans during this sequence. But with the hemophilia debuff, we bleed much quicker, and so making this sequence way more difficult. As you can see, I barely made it to Talmberg. As I reach Talmberg, I then proceed to gobble up everything I can see that's edible. I speed through each cutscene, and then finally we are faced with the challenge of convincing this god to let me out to bury my parents. But no matter what I do, I still have to get Talmberg god armor in order to progress. I was about to use Rule 3 when I remembered I can just jump down the moat. I was nervous in doing this considering I have the Brittle Bones debuff, which makes falling a lot more dangerous. After getting past the gods trying to chase you, we rode straight to Skalitz. At arrival, you can see that Henry is still wearing no clothes. We then have to fight our way through looters until we eventually reach our parents. Looking for a spade, we find the asswipe Zibishek. After casually almost losing to him in a fistfight, I pull out my father's sword and he flees. I took the spade and I then proceeded to another cutscene. After this sequence, you then meet Runt, the main villain for this first video.
Now. Fuck it!
After being beaten not by Runt, but by one of his minions, We then get placed to another cutscene. Since then, I've seen this overwhelmingly many times. I will skip these sets of cutscenes. We are then introduced to our first official house in KCD, Peshek's Mill. Peshek will make us steal a ring in order to pay him back. After doing so, we can now sell stolen goods to Peshek. But before anything else, my advice for everyone here when playing KCD. Get Mutt as soon as you can. This good dog proves to be invaluable, considering that he can fight alongside you. Having him around during combat has proven to be a game changer. Now let's proceed to the actual game. Doing the main quest, we barge into a meal between peers. Sir Radzig and his nobility friends talking about the state of the realm.
Your Graces, I have to tell you in all seriousness that this land of ours is in the shit. Deep fucking shit. Don't you agree?
We are then told that we need to train in order to enter Sir Radzig's service. Now, this sequence will be the most important part of my playthrough. Due to the numbskull debuff training and getting XP is much more time-consuming, so after spending 5 hours in real life, I was able to get enough agility points to wield the saber I have equipped. Why did I grind agility points instead of strength? Well, you see, being able to move quickly and dodge attacks would be my go-to considering that I'm not wearing any piece of protective equipment. Plus, I will not be wielding a long sword during this run, considering that my only means of defense is blocking. And so, we must use a loadout with a shield. Now, there are perks to having a shield. First, of course, the obvious buff is the capability of blocking attacks much easier, and also the ability to raise your shield to lower the chance of getting hit by an arrow. But for the players who can't see past the subtle reason why I'm getting a shield, let me demonstrate.
Bring it on!
This move obliterates your opponent's health bar. It's a move that almost everyone understands to be overpowered. We will also get ass-whooped by Hans Capon in the fighting pin. Now that's finished, we are then told to meet Nightingale, who will comment on us not wearing any form of armor.
Fought for duty dressed like that?
I've got nothing better to do.
You'd look more frightening with a pitchfork. Go and...
I'll get by like this.
If you insist. But don't blame me if you get laughed at.
After the patrol sequence, I will demonstrate to Hans Capon why he shouldn't mess with a Henry with 9 to 10 agility points.
Give that bastard something to remember you by.
After getting scolded by Sir Hanush, we are told to join Sir Hans Capon on his hunting trip. For those wondering why I haven't grinded to get a horse in this sequence, I would like to inform you that having a horse in this sequence would mean I have to fight Cumans head-on. Considering my lack of protective apparel, I would love to play it safe for now. Now hunting with Hans Capon, I employed the Mutt tactic, letting Mutt do the hard labor of actually hunting down the hares. After winning Capon's challenge, I opted to hunt boar with him.
Your serf humbly thanks you, my lord.
And now come along. Let's go and hunt some real game.
Watch and learn.
Did you see that? Damn, I'm good.
After Capon fails, he chases down the boar and leaves us to chase him down on foot. After wandering for a bit, I finally find him tied up while 2 Cumans roam around him. After stealthily knocking one down and then dueling the second one,
Bigger cocks than you.
I've confirmed that I'm ready for every challenge this game has installed for me. After freeing Sir Hans, we escorted him back to Ratte. We are then rewarded for saving him.
Give him a horse.
His own mount?
His reward for saving Sir Hans.
A horse to aid us, since we are then set to ride to Neuhof because of a massacre that occurred there. We arrive to see a tableau of cruelty. You can see maimed and dead horses on the ground, and next to them Sir Hanush's vassal. Skipping this cutscene, and we are then set to investigate what happened. Knowing what happened, we then rush directly to the forest and confront 2 bandits.
Bastard really got me
That's
good.
him.
How could it have gone so wrong?
I'm fucking dying here. Nobody can match me with iron in their hands and... some damn...
After pulling a hoof pick from the corpse of one of the bandits, we are then opted to find out who the hoof pick belongs to. Then we are then told to ask this stable hand. He will tell us that it was Ginger's and he must be hiding out with his charcoal burner friends. Racing back to Captain Bernard, we progress, hunting down Ginger. After confronting the first set of charcoal burners, we are set to go to the Samapesh Woods, and we can rightly hunt down the bandits that are trying to kill Ginger.
I'm going to enjoy this. Dear God.
After doing so, we can now start looking for Ginger. However, during this run, I finally received my first official death. I got jumped by a couple of Cumans, and then Pebbles, my current horse, pussied out on me and ran away. Considering my disposition, I easily died from the Cumans. Aggravatingly, I was placed back my last sleep and save file, which was during Capon's hunting trip. So I had to do the sequence all over again. Getting back on track, I stole a horse instead of using Pebbles. I then looked for Ginger by asking this charcoal burner spokesperson, and we are then pointed where Ginger is. We finally find him and then learn everything we need to start our proper investigation. We return to Neuhof, then report to Sir Radzig, telling him the accounts of what happened and what we've learned. We then go to Uzhitz to find the man with a limp that Ginger mentioned. We discover that he is dead. We know the sequence of what to do next, and so we go to Father Godwin, and we then ask him to reveal anything about Limpy Lubosh that could help us in our investigation. After helping Father Godwin by performing his sermon for him,
the lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that was.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a
I'm
silver
glad he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
he then reveals a person named Reeky, who lives in Ledechko. Knowing exactly where Reeky is, I then go straight towards him. Then we are placed in a cutscene where he talks to a deer that he is gutting.
Need someone to talk to?
Fuck! Don't kill me. I can explain.
We interrupt and then have a full conversation about the events at Neuhof. Then Runt's men arrive, and we are placed in our first ever real skirmish. A 2v3 where I am placed at a handicap.
What's that? The answer to my prayers. Just when I bring it on.
Christ.
However, pulling through, me and Reeky came out alive in this situation. Telling Reeky that he is free to go, we are then opted to chase down another lead, Timmy, the simple-minded individual that works at a mill. After confronting his sister, we are then told to wait for her behind the mill. Finally, another obstacle we need to overcome Morcock and his crew. We then reveal Timmy's location to Morcock. In doing so, he leaves and I can take down one of his men using stealth. I can then call their attention by shooting an arrow towards them. Why did I do that? I need to lure them to this wagon. Being on top of this wagon, Morcock cannot reach us, allowing us to just shoot arrows right at them.
You call that combat? All right, enough. I give up, you hear? Oh, dear God. You're dead!
After this, I can now go to Timmy, who will try his best to tell us where to find the bandit camp. After receiving the instructions, we then go to the woods north of Talmberg. Rushing through the thicket, we then find ourselves at Pribyslavitz. Finding out as much as we can by riding around inside, we then rush back to Sir Radzig. We then narrate everything we've learned, after which he will instruct us to go to Sir Divish and ask for reinforcements. After doing so, we finally arrive at the raid of Pribyslavitz. Our true challenge, as in this part. We must conserve our health, since it is in our best interest to make sure that we have enough health to fight and win against Runt. This has proven difficult as I tried my best to help during the raid, but still be safe. I just took on a more supportive role and just shot arrows at the enemy. However, a single arrow from any of the archers in Pribyslavitz can already be fatal to our current condition. After plenty of attempts, we finally reached our goal. A duel with Runt, he is our first obstacle in our attempt to beat this challenge. Now, applying everything I know about combat, I opted to use the Warhammer, which would prove to be useful against an armored foe like Runt. And as you recall, I made sure to have a shield so I can do this dirty move on him. After that, I'm sure he's finally weakened.
Fucking hell.
And then boom, a final hit to the head. We claim our victory in finishing the first part of this challenge. We are then rewarded with a cutscene where we smash Runt's head to the ground.
Talk, you bastard!
I'll see you in hell.
Tell me, do you hear me?
And there goes the end of part 1. Now let me talk to all of you sincerely for a moment. I would like to take this moment to thank everyone who has subscribed and reached out over my videos. It has been amazing. The reception I've received is amazing. The amount of growth and positive words I've received has proved to be invaluable. This first part has already proven how difficult it is to finish KCD without any armor, so much so having all debuffs active. I would like to thank everyone who watched this video and made it to the end. I thank you all for your time. If you want to help me out or maybe anticipate on part 2, please subscribe to my channel. On the second part of this story, we'll have a filler arc where we fight Sir Hagen. Our goal is to take his sword as it is one of the best swords in the game. Now, as I like to say often. Now, have a great day.